What is up, YouTube? Ultimate Lock here, and I have a special video for you guys. No, I haven't uploaded in a long time, but upload when there's a reason to upload. I just ended up coming across this massive GameCube collection because of the hurricane. Hurricane went off, it flooded an entire area near my house, and one of my friends was going through some of the stuff because it's a higher end neighborhood and they were just putting like lots of good stuff, lots of like furniture out there that realistically could be salvaged. And he was like, yeah, so there's this Pokemon collection that I ended up finding. I'm like, okay, well, I've heard this before. It's just generally junk cards. And he shows me the front page, and there's a base set Charizard on it. I'm just like, holy freaking crap. Now, the problem with that is it was completely and utterly soaked. But he also found a bin full of, like, Nintendo Wii games and stuff along those lines. And he was like, if you want to come over and see the collection, you could do so today, but I didn't go through everything. I would suggest going over there yourself and checking everything out. So we went to his house. I'm probably going to upload a video of going through the Pokemon collection, and then we end up going to the place where he found it, right? And when I got there, the owner was actually there, and they were taking stuff out of the garage, and they were throwing there, and I just started talking to them. I was like, yo, hey, everything out here, you're throwing at the curb, right? You don't care about it, right? And they're like, yeah, we're just getting rid of it. I'm like, do you have any idea if there's any games in there? And they're like, there's a GameCube in one of the totes. And I was just like, a GameCube? Okay. I was thinking, my friend, he went off, he picked up the Pokemon collection. He also picked up a Nintendo Wii. It had some games. It also had Animal Crossing for the Nintendo GameCube. And I was just like, there's a good chance that this person mistakenly said GameCube instead of Wii and confused the two. But I was like, you know what, sure. They looked around for about, like, I want to say a minute and 30 seconds. They're like, okay, underneath the pile, like, there's that blue tote. That's where the GameCube is. I was like, I'm going for it. So I had to dig through a pile of stuff. There was like 3 mattresses and everything that was stacked on top of it. Everything was soaked in salt water. It was absolutely disgusting. But I ended up grabbing it, right? And holy freaking crap, it was absolutely insane. So it has the GameCube system. I'm going to take this apart. I'm going to bathe it in rubbing alcohol. That's going to hopefully stop the corrosion from happening. And then in a few days, I'll test it out. Worst case scenario, maybe some of the parts can be used to fix other GameCubes. I have my soldering iron and stuff there. And here are the games which I haven't tested yet, but I would imagine all are going to work because all they did was they got some salt water. Like, I don't predict that is going to destroy the games. I don't think there'd be any reason for that. So, yeah, we have some really crazy games here. So we have 180 Avalanche, which isn't amazing. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Zelda Wind Waker, Prince of Persia: Warrior Within, 007 Everything or Nothing, Prince of Persia, I think that's the Spirits of Time, Alien Hominid, Baten Kaitos, discs 1 and 2. We have Tales of Symphonia, disc 1 and 2. We have Skies of Arcadia Legends, which is an absolutely insanely expensive game right now. Shadow the Hedgehog, which ironically the labeling is like kind of destroyed because of the water damage. Time Splitters 2, this might not work, not because of anything to do with the water, but due to the fact that it is pretty scratched up. Eternal Darkness, which again, super expensive game. Zelda Master Quest, Harvest Moon, Magical Melody, Sonic Riders, Beautiful Joe, Resident Evil 0, Prince of Persia, Lord of the Rings, 2 copies of Gladius for some reason, Mario Sunshine, Simpsons Hidden Run, Splinter Cell, Soul Calibur, Final Fantasy, Crystal Chronicles, Resident Evil 4, Disc 1 and 2, Metroid Other M, and Prince of Persia, and then we have Lord of the Rings, Harvest Moon, and Simpsons Road Rage. So yeah, all this stuff right here was going to be thrown into the trash. Not a single one of these discs were supposed to survive. They were all going to be thrown into the trash, and the trash was coming, I think, tomorrow. So very, very happy I saved those. As for the GameCube here, I have no idea if I can save this, right? Salt water is very corrosive and everything along those lines. I am going to disassemble it, clean it all out, put isopropyl alcohol on it to hopefully stop the corrosion from happening. If I can save it, awesome. If I can't, it's not that big of a deal. As for anyone who's saying that this is fake for views, I don't know why they would believe that, but, you know, like, there's some obvious, like, let me see here, water damage. I guess it's kind of hard to see. But, yeah, so here's all the cases and manuals. Realistically, right now, this right here is probably about, like, I'd say probably $250 worth of case and manuals. And they're completely destroyed. Like that's soaked, right? There's no fixing that. There's no way of doing this. I'm going to throw this out in the sun. Hopefully the moisture will get out of it, but when that happens, everything here is going to curl. I cannot take this out without completely ripping it apart. So if I tried to take out this and like set it down in the sun and everything and put something on it to help make it not crinkle, it's going to disintegrate in my hands. So that's how bad it was soaked. So yeah, like all these cases of manuals are completely destroyed. I don't know if when they dry out they'll be salvageable, because the fact that they also have that saltwater smell, which is pretty terrible, to be completely honest. As for the discs and everything, I went off and cleaned all these discs, so everything should be good. And now we're going to go off and take apart this GameCube, and I'm going to put some rubbing alcohol on it, and you're going to see that right. Alright, we are back. So, as you can see here, I took apart the GameCube, I scrubbed it down and cleaned it very well. I also used a ton of isopropyl alcohol, 91%. This is pretty much 40% full. It was brand new, so yeah, I did a lot of scrubbing, can tell you that much. I also took apart this controller. And this has been like 3 days. I did the cleaning literally right after I made the last clip that you guys were watching. So this has been sitting out drying. The controller does work. The only problem is that the Z button right here, the trigger function is constantly detecting that it's being held down when it's not, and it's not the plastic piece. So I'm going to need to use my soldering iron over there, desolder that, and grab one of the replacement triggers and solder it on. Now, I can grab one of those on Etsy for like 50 cents, but the shipping is $4, so it doesn't really make sense to grab it right away. Whenever I need to do like a few repairs and I end up finding a seller that has the stuff I'm looking for plus that, I'll end up grabbing it, but it doesn't make sense to pay $4 shipping for an item that is like 50 cents. Or if I come across a broken controller, I can just desolder that one part and test it out. Now, for the motherboard, or I should say for the GameCube, we have all the shell right here. We have the motherboard for the disc reader. That is what this is. I don't know if the capacitors will be good. If not, I can just always replace them. We actually have the GameCube motherboard right here. We have the disc spinner. We have the power button. We have the optical laser. We have the GameCube ports for the controller. We have the bottom power bracket. And then we have the fan. And then we have the shell. Now, I scrubbed this all down, used a ton of isopropyl alcohol, and it looks like it came out pretty nice. Obviously, this stuff right here is rusted, like, that's pretty bad, but it doesn't matter. This is the stuff that actually matters, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't really have too much faith that this was going to work, but I'm starting to feel like this has a solidly decent chance of actually functioning. The only things that I think that might not survive is maybe the controller ports right here. It does have a little bit of corrosion on the back, but if it doesn't, I have another GameCube that's broken, so I can just swap that out. It's really, really simple. And yeah, I'm super glad I ended up grabbing this GameCube and everything, because I'm probably the only one in this area that would be willing to take it apart and completely clean it down, because I really think that it'd be a damn shame for this to go to waste. And let's go over to the games, because I know that is probably what a lot of you guys are wondering. Now, I went off and tested 5 games. I tested Zelda Wind Waker, I tested Skies of Arcadia Legends, I tested Eternal Darkness, Zelda Master Quest, and Mario Sunshine. all 5 of them worked. No problems whatsoever. They didn't take like longer to read or anything. They worked like they were brand new. So that's amazing. All these games fully functional. And I have all the cases getting dried out in my garage right now. So that's also another plus. Obviously, the cases and everything are not going to be pristine. They're going to be essentially just water damage. But I figured, you know, I might as well keep the cases. There's nothing wrong with keeping the cases. If I let them sit out there for like a week or two, the manuals are obviously going to be destroyed. But again, they'll look better than just having them as discs. So, yeah, pretty awesome. Now, we're going to find out whether or not this GameCube actually functions. So we're going to pause the video right here, and I'm going to go off and put this all together. So here's the moment of truth. So we have the GameCube put together to the point where I can actually test it. As for the power cable that I got with the GameCube, that was soaked in salt water. I do not trust that. I went off and was thinking about maybe going off and trying to dry that out, but I ultimately ended up going off and just pitching into the trash can. The GameCube, that could be possibly salvaged, but when it comes to power cables, especially the GameCube's power cable, I think it draws like a pretty decent amount of voltage. So I do not want to risk that going haywire and ruining the outlet or tripping the breaker. That's something I don't want to mess with, so I'm just going to pitch that and use my other one. As for the GameCube, we'll see if it actually turns on, and worst case scenario, it just doesn't work, and I put in a little bit of time and effort into doing this. So let's see if it works. It displays! Ah, displays. Okay, that's good. Let's see if the discs work. Alright, so I'm hitting the back button right here, and that's telling the GameCube that's closed, so the disc should spin, but it's not. The laser is triggering, though, so I think what ends up happening is either the electric motor, which it could be bad, right, that thing that goes off and it will spin and start up the disc, that could be bad, or the capacitors are bad. Either or. So that's not too bad, because both of those could be easily repairable. So overall, as long as the GameCube boots up into this, it's not that hard of a fix, and it's just kind of amazing that it's actually still functional, right? So I was actually not expecting this, so pretty good. I would say I'd say probably the best scenario. I didn't think that everything would work. I didn't. Even GameCubes that you find nowadays, for example, these two GameCubes back here, they have disc read errors, so it's a very common thing. This could not have been even caused by the flooding. This could have just been what was going on with it before because of just how old the systems are, that I just might need to replace the capacitors on it, which again is something that I know how to do. So it'll just take more time. But all in all, having a functional GameCube. As for the controller, I believe I said this in the previous one, but I'll just reiterate it. The Z button over here, it does not function as intended. It basically sticks and is considered held. So once I replace that, then the controller is fully functional. So I would have to say, this is pretty amazing. So I got the GameCube working, it seems. Like, as long as it just doesn't magically power off in the next, like, 10 minutes, it should be solid. And we also have all the GameCube games over here. So, pretty massive W. I'm very, very happy. And, yeah. Thanks for watching. Make sure to comment, rate, and subscribe. And it's awesome making sure this stuff didn't end up in the trash.